Welcome to Cornerstone Today. This is a daily moment in the Word designed to help you start your day grounded, steady, and focused on what matters most. Each weekday morning we'll open Scripture together, seeking clarity, strength, and hope for the day ahead. This is about learning to walk with Jesus in real life, right where you are. Let's begin today in the Word.
Well, good morning and welcome to Cornerstone Today. It's Matthew Allen. Hope that you are having a good morning, and I am glad that you are here with me as we begin our journey this week into Matthew chapter 7. Last week we were in chapter 6 and we were talking about a Father who feeds us and clothes us and counts us worth far more than the birds or the weeds or the flowers that are out in the garden. Jesus in chapter 6 also walked us off the throne of worry and set us down under the care of a Father who already knows what we need. Today, we're moving into chapter 7, and this is the home stretch of the Sermon on the Mount, and Jesus opens it with maybe the most famous words that he ever said, and some of the words that I think that he said that are the most misused. Two words that show up on coffee mugs or in comment sections or at the end of arguments that people just don't want to finish. And of course, those words are, judge not. And so I think we owe it to Jesus to find out what he meant, because I'm not sure it's what most people think. And so let's read it together, Matthew chapter 7, beginning in verse 1. We're going to go through verse 6 today. Do not judge so that you won't be judged. For you'll be judged by the same standard with which you judge others, and you'll be measured by the same measure you use. Why do you look at the splinter in your brother's eye, but don't notice the beam of wood in your own eye? Or how could you say to your brother, let me take the splinter out of your eye, and look, there's a beam of wood in your own eye? Hypocrite! First take the beam of wood out of your eye, and then you will see clearly to take the splinter out of your brother's eye. Don't give what is holy to dogs, or toss your pearls before pigs, or they will trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces. So here are 6 verses, and in them Jesus does something that we tend to pull apart. He warns us off of a harsh or condemning spirit. But yet, in the same breath, he assumes that we'll still know a dog from a brother and a pearl from a pig. He's not handing us a license to stop thinking. He's teaching us how to see straight. So, first Jesus says, do not judge so that you won't be judged. And I think it's important that we just focus on those words. On the surface, it sounds like Jesus is shutting down every opinion that we could ever form about anyone. And that's usually how this gets used, as a conversation stopper or a way to wave off any concern about how someone is living. Don't judge me, we hear. But I want you to hold that verse to the rest of the chapter. A few lines down, Jesus is telling us to watch out for false prophets, and he says that we'll know them by their fruit. Well, that takes judgment, and that takes discernment. Jesus could not in one breath forbid all evaluation, and in the very next breath commend it. So he's after something more specific. And I think our word critic comes straight out of the word that he uses here, and that is the spirit that he's targeting. The verdict passing, the sentence handling, and the look down your nose attitude that sets itself up as another person's judge. He's talking about the heart that's quick to condemn and slow to understand. The reflex that assumes the worst and decides the case and quietly enjoys the ruling. Now that is what Jesus forbids, and he's not telling you to turn off your conscience or to pretend that right and wrong don't exist. What he's doing is taking the gavel out of your hand. He says there is a judge of all the earth, and the seat is taken. And he says you will be measured by the same measure that you use. And I think this is just sobering, because there is a kind of justice built into the way that we treat people. The standard that we hold over someone else's head is the standard that's going to come down on our own. You deal in suspicion, and suspicion is what you're going to get back. You be harsh with every failure but your own, and you've just set the terms that God is going to hold you to. Because if we really want to be measured by the way that we measure other people, most days we're not going to make it. We want mercy for ourselves and a microscope for everybody else. And Jesus says it doesn't work that way. The mercy that you withhold is the mercy you forfeit. Next, Jesus is going to tell us something that you may find humorous, and it is really something that's intended to make us laugh a little bit before it makes us wince. Why do you look at the splinter in your brother's eye but don't notice the beam of wood in your own eye? Now, I want you to think about a splinter. It's a little speck of sawdust, and it's in your brother's eye. And then I want you to think about a beam, maybe a roof rafter or a construction timber sticking out of your eye. And I want you to picture a man with a 2x4 just coming out of his face, leaning in close and squinting and saying, "Hold still now, you've got a little something in your eye." Now that's absurd. And everyone in the room can now see the problem except him. And that's all of us at our worst. We have x-ray vision for the faults of other people and a giant blind spot for our own. The very things that bother us most in someone else are often the things that we have quietly excused in ourselves. We spot the splinter precisely because we're carrying the same wood in our own eye, just more of it. And notice what Jesus says to do about it. First, take the beam of wood out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the splinter out of your brother's eye. So deal with yourself first, honestly, all the way down, get the beam out, and the result is not that you stop caring about your brother's eye. The result is now that you can truly help him. Now you can see. So self-examination doesn't dead end with us staring at someone else. It ends with clear eyes, a steady hand, and a heart that's humble enough to be trusted with someone else's wound. And so this is not a passage against ever helping someone. It's a passage about doing eye surgery with a plank in your face. Get clean first, then come close. And really now the verse that surprises everyone who thought that this paragraph was only about being nice. Here's verse 6. Don't give what is holy to dogs, or toss your pearls before pigs, or they'll trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces. Now, after 5 verses of telling us to ease up on the gavel, Jesus turns around and says, be discerning. Some things are holy. Some things are like pearls, and not everyone in front of you is in a place to receive them. So remember, dogs in the first century weren't pets that we have today that lay on our couch or crawl in our bed. They were scavengers that lived out in the street, and a pig or a wild dog couldn't tell a pearl from a pebble. Drop a pearl in the mud, and the pig will root at it and find that it's not food, and then he'll trample it down, and then he'll turn on you. And by using that description, what Jesus is doing is he's describing people who have shown that they'll only mock what's sacred and turn on the one who offered it. There is a time to stop casting holy things in front of someone who only wants to grind them into the dirt. And I think this is why that verse sits right there. It is the guardrail on the other side of the road. Verses 1 through 5 keep us from becoming harsh or being a condemning critic. And verse 6 keeps us from going too far the other way, that we lose all discernment and call it love. The same Jesus who says don't condemn says don't be naive. Mercy was never the same thing as having no eyes. And so if you put the two together, you've got the whole point of the passage. Get the log out. Don't be hypocritical. Don't be sitting up on a throne throwing out condemnation. Keep your eyes open, be real, and be careful, and move with humble discernment. Jesus is not making us choose between mercy and clarity. He wants us walking both of these things around. So go easy with the gavel this week. It was never yours to swing, but don't go blind either. Keep your eyes wide open to your own sin first, then open to help your brother. And open most of all to the mercy that's already been measured out to you, full and overflowing at the cross. Tomorrow we're going to stay right here in Matthew chapter 7. We're going to keep going in verses 7 through 12, where Jesus says to ask and seek and knock. And we're going to talk about a father who gives good gifts to his children. So I hope after a very hard look in the mirror today, it'll be good to turn and look up. I hope you'll join us. Thanks for being here. We'll see you tomorrow on Cornerstone Today.
Thanks for spending these moments in the Word today. As you go, remember this: faithfulness is built one ordinary day at a time. Keep walking with Jesus. Keep listening. Keep trusting. God is at work all the time. Join us again every weekday morning for another moment of encouragement and truth here on Cornerstone Today.